More storylines from Locker Room Cleanout Day, including some comments on the youth of the Nashville Predators, plus takes from a hat on today's Locked on Predators podcast.
You're Locked on Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making the Locked on Predators podcast your first listen of the day. Every single day, we are your free daily Nashville Predators podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, want to start out with a special shout out to our loyal Locked on Pred heads out there, the everydayers who tune into every single show. We love you guys and appreciate the support you give us week in and week out. I'm Nick Morgan. I'm a writer at Penalty Box Radio, and I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Ann Kimmel. I'm a writer at Penalty Box Radio.
More locker room cleanout storylines to get to this week, and including a couple of interesting comments about the youth of the Nashville Predators moving forward, including Phil Tomasino. A lot of fans are wondering what's going on with him. A lot of people had some eyebrows and differing takes on Andrew Brunette's comments. Plus, we'll also talk about Luke Evangelista and his next steps, and takes from a hat with some random topics. And we'll also have an announcement about the future of Locked on Predators moving forward. It will affect all our episodes moving forward, so make sure you stay tuned for that at the end of the show. First, I want to mention today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. There's no I in team, but there is one in Indeed, and that's the hiring platform you need to build your team. So start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. All right, and so we have been breaking down the locker room cleanout media availability for the Nashville Predators this week. We talked about some of the key storylines yesterday, but of course, we talked to way too many people during Locker Room Cleanout Day to have just one episode. So there's plenty of more people to hear from and plenty of more storylines to talk to or to talk about. And one of the most interesting comments that came out of the Locker Room Cleanout Day was somebody who wasn't there.
Yeah.
Phil Tomasino, who's up in Milwaukee right now, helping the Admirals cling to their very slim outlook right now.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe they can turn things around. Phil Tomasino was and kind of considered one of the guys that the Preds could build around entering the season. And then as the season went on, and it's just clear that maybe that dream wasn't going to happen this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was such an interesting topic, and it really dominated a lot of the conversation coming out of Locker Room Cleanout, which was interesting. As you pointed out, Phil Tomasino wasn't here. It wasn't even around. But when Barry Trotz opens his comments by saying, hey, we want to get faster, we want to get younger, and this is something that we heard him say at the beginning of last year, one of the players you immediately think of is Phil Tomasino, and he has had such an unpredictably odd trajectory with the Nashville Predators since being drafted. So Andrew Brunette was asked more specifically about Phil Tomasino and his role with the Predators going forward, and what does he need to work on. This is what Andrew Brunette had to say, and then we're going to come back because there's a lot of discussion points packed into this one little clip.
Yeah, the reports I've got, he's played real well down there. I think it's probably been good for him. I think up here, we talked about it mid-season where we felt for his development to have an opportunity to be the type of player we believe he can be, he needs a little bit more. He needed more ice time, he needed a bigger role. He had to grow a little bit, both on and off the ice, I think, a little bit. And from all reports I got, he's right on course. Now, in saying that, for me, I think he needs to grab the little of our identity that we've created here, and he has to have a little bit more of that in him. And if he can, and if he puts the work in, and he's relentless, then his skill will take over. But if he at different times this year where he wanted the skill first without the work, I'm not sure he has a chance to play for us next year. So we're building him. I think it's, like I said, it's been really good for him. This playoff run will be really, really critical for his career, and I hope he rises to the moment, and I believe he will.
I want to get your take, Ann, on how you interpret his comments, because I've seen people in the Nashville media kind of on both sides. We've seen a couple of people be like, "Oh, this is bad for Tomasino. It looks like the Preds are kind of maybe willing to move on from him." We've had some other people step up and said, "Actually, I think the opposite. I think he is really sort of opening a path and setting an expectation for Tomasino to be here." So how do you interpret this?
This is really interesting because you start off with the things that Andrew Brunette says that are very positive. Like, I know the kind of player he can be. We want him to grow. He's right on course. Reports are good from Milwaukee. And then he goes into saying, he needs to embrace our identity. He needs to put the work in. And then the comment that I think has people really talking is where he says, he can't have the skill first without the work. Here is what I will say after just one season of kind of listening to Andrew Brunette. Andrew Brunette is a straight shooter. Like, he doesn't send subliminal messages. If you ask Andrew Brunette a question, Andrew Brunette's going to give you an answer. And the question was, what does Phil Tomasino need to do to be a part of this future? I think Andrew Brunette was very straight with this. Look, got a lot of skill. We see what he can be. He needed more ice time to develop, on and off the ice. Here is what we need to see from him. So I think it really wasn't so much a write-off of Tomasino as it was this is what I'm looking for from Phil Tomasino. Not the skill first, but to put in the work. That's my interpretation of it, is that this is a very clear, here's what I'm looking for from him. But what do you take away from it?
I'm with you on that. Okay. Like, I didn't hear, he certainly wasn't, mincing words. He's basically saying, look, I don't care. I kind of interpret it as, look, I don't care how skilled Tomasino is, because, we know sort of when he was struggling to get ice time, a lot of people were pointing out, it's like, I don't get this. His expected goals are high. His Corsi rates are high. He's winning possession when he's out there. I think that was kind of his way of being like, hey, I recognize this, but there's other stuff to hockey other than scoring. And look, we kind of talked about this because I do think as a coach, you have to be creative in putting some of your best players, your high impact players out there in a way that maybe masks some of their shortcomings. And I think, when Tomasino was struggling to get ice time, you and I talked about it. It's like, is there a way that Andrew Brunette can still have him out there in key moments, maybe with people that sort of erase his defensive deficiencies? Right. But this to me was Brunette kind of also saying, it's like, look, I recognize that, but at the same time, he's got to do the work a little bit.
Right.
Like this isn't a case of, look, we know Tomasino is an offensive person, so we're just going to put him out there and it's offense. He's not going to have to worry about defense. It felt like, no, if he wants to be on the Nashville Predators, he's got to do a lot of things well.
Right. And when you look back at who are some of the people that Phil Tomasino spent a lot of time with on the ice, one of the players that he spent a lot of ice time with was Michael McCarron. Michael McCarron, probably not the first thing that you think of when you think of high impact offensive player, although he did have a career high season, which shout out to Michael McCarron.
Yeah, good for him.
Good for him. Love him. But Phil Tomasino, when he is out there with like Michael McCarron or Cole Smith or Kiefer Sherwood, however that kind of fourth line was put together when Tomasino was here, A, not getting a lot of ice time, but B, it was a situation where some of his line mates were doing the relentless work. And I think that's the work. When Andrew Brunette says putting in the work, it's that relentless work. It's that puck battle winning. It's that going into the scrum and coming out with the puck, not standing alongside of it and waiting. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And when he was with Michael McCarron, in some ways, he almost didn't have to do quite that much because that is McCarron and Smith and Sherwood. That's kind of their bread and butter. Like they are the go relentless guys. They're the identity guys when it comes to that. So I think that when you look at Tomasino, you think high-end offensive skill. This is a guy you want in your middle six. But if you're going to be in the middle six, you got to be the guy doing that work. You got to be the guy doing that work. You can't just be the guy waiting for your line mates to get you the puck so you can generate chances. The other thing to remember is that this is something, and look, love Phil Tomasino. I think he does have high-end skill. But you have to remember that there is something in Tomasino's game that two separate coaches have seen they want him to grow in. John Hines, he ended up down in Milwaukee under Hines. He ended up in Milwaukee under Andrew Brunette. Two different general managers had the final say in the decision of we need him to develop more, and it's got to happen in Milwaukee. You have Barry Trotz this year, you had David Poyle last year. So I feel like we can stop the vendetta against Phil Tomasino. I think people thought Hines had it out for him or something. There is something that they want to see from his game.
Yeah.
That consistently they haven't.
Yeah. Real quick prediction. Do you think Tomasino gets to that point? Do you think he becomes this impact player with the Nashville Predators maybe as early as next season? Or is this going to be, another case of a guy that, just for some reason couldn't put all of it together while playing for the Nashville Predators?
I do think he can be for two reasons. Number one, he's young, y'all. He's just 22 years old. He's just a little baby sprout. And I think, for as much as we've seen him in Nashville, there is still plenty of opportunity for him to grow. Number two, because I think we saw it happen with another player we're getting ready to talk about. We saw it happen this year. So I know it can be done.
Why, my dear friend Ann Kimmel, would you be referring to Luke Evangelista?
I would be referring to Pretty Boy Vincenzo. Yes, I would.
Well, then let's talk about Vange, shall we? We will listen to his take on his season and his development moving forward. Again, as you mentioned, up and down season for Vange to started putting things together right at the end. We'll talk about what's next for Evangelista in his career coming up here in just a second. First, though, want to mention today's episode is brought to you by Policy Genius. Life insurance is an important safety net for your family. But trying to find the right policy on your own can be time-consuming, stressful, and straight-up overwhelming. That's where Policy Genius comes into play. Policy Genius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. It saves you time and money so you can provide your family with financial safety nets starting right now. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams. If you've ever gotten positive feedback from, friends or family about insurance, more than likely they're talking about Policy Genius. It is a all-in-one tool that helps you compare different rates, different options from the company. They have licensed experts that are always on hand to help you talk through it. They have a team of award-winning agents that'll go through the process of signing up step by step, so you're knowing that you're doing everything right. And as we mentioned, you can easily compare quotes from America's top insurers in just a few clicks so you can find your lowest price. Check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com/LockedOnNHL or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. Again, that's policygenius.com/LockedOnNHL. All right, Ann, we are talking about some of the youth for the Nashville Predators moving forward, because that's always a tricky topic with this team every single year, it seems like. We talked a little bit about Phil Tomasino earlier. Let's move to another person kind of in Phil Tomasino's position, and that was Luke Evangelista, a player that, like Tomasino, came in this year as somebody that a lot of people pointed to. It's like, oh, this is the guy. This is the guy that's going to come into Andrew Brunette's system. This is the guy that Barry Trotz had in mind when he's talking about getting younger, more skilled. We're going to open up space for him to play. And, it was tough going for Luke Evangelista down the stretch. Had some good plays, but not quite the impact that he had at the end of the season last year. Took him a while to get going, was a healthy scratch and a handful of games. And then lo and behold, and here he comes, really starts to figure things out down the stretch, noticeably gets better as the season goes on. Winds up with 39 points in his official rookie season. Nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, this was a really great finish for Luke Evangelista, but you hit the nail on the head when you talk about the fact that it was not a linear season. And I think when you have somebody who showed what Van showed in his 24 games last season, you come in and you think, man, he is headed straight up. And growth is not linear, and nobody likes growth. That's a Kimmel family mantra. Nobody likes growth. But yeah. Luke Evangelista went through the ups and downs that it just is going to take as a young player in the NHL to figure out what it was that he needed to do to be more successful. So he was asked at Locker Room Cleanout just to sort of summarize, like, hey, talk to us a little bit about your takeaways from this past season. So let's share a little bit of what Luke Evangelista had to say.
I don't think it was, one play or one game necessarily. I think I felt after All-Star break, I had some meetings with the coaches and was watching some stuff. And, like I said, had some different focus points that really helped elevate my game. And I think I strung together a couple games. I think it started around the same time as that 18-game win streak, which, isn't really a coincidence. I don't think, I think right around that time, just felt the confidence building a little bit and, was able to elevate my game from there and kind of have more of a positive impact. I feel like I grew a lot this year. My game at the start of the year compared to the end was kind of night and day. I honestly felt like I was a bit of a different player, did a lot of progressing and growing this year, which is what you hope for in your first year. It's not always going to be a straight line. There's going to be ups and downs, and, you got to learn from the good, you got to learn from the bad, and I think, I did a pretty good job of that, and, was able to have a good impact in the second half. And those playoff games, that was a great experience for me. Obviously, I wish I, could have produced more. I wish we could have won the series. It was right there. But I think, like I said, in those playoff series, you got to feel everything. You have to feel the highs and the lows, and we certainly did. Feel it all. So, it's my first taste of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and hopefully learn from it and just be better next time around.
It's funny when you hear players talk about their turnaround, not even just the players, whenever, coaches talk about a turnaround, it's always the same line. It always starts with just string together a couple of games.
Yes.
And I think that's key. And I think that's key for Evangelista, maybe more so than some other young players we've talked about, is he had that liberty to kind of go out there and have some chances after screwing up. Mm-hmm. Because what was our biggest, qualms with first John Hines, and then at some points this year, Andrew Brunette, with some of these players, it was, they make one mistake and they're out of the game.
Right.
Their ice time is cut, or they're a healthy scratch for the next 2-3 games.
Right.
With Evangelista, you see the value of letting young players, especially young players, play through their mistakes. You said, you know what, you had a bad game. That's fine. You now, have learned a couple of things. We're going to put you out there the next game. Don't do that same thing this time. And you saw it with Evangelista. As he mentioned, he was able to get out there. He had a good game. Then the next game, he had an even better game. And then he had, maybe a less game, but still a pretty good game. And he just kind of kept building that trajectory, that sort of constantly, maybe up, maybe down, but gradually going up sort of trajectory. And I think that speaks to importance, and something that I think Andrew Brunette and Barry Trotz maybe need to work on a little bit more moving forward as the Preds aim to get younger, is giving young players an opportunity to kind of play their way out of bad games.
Right. One of the things that Evangelista shared too that wasn't, I don't think was in that clip, is he talked about at the beginning of the season where he really was struggling some. And even around the times, before the All-Star break, he was a healthy scratch in February after the All-Star break for that big Colorado game. And he talked about one of the things that was so helpful is that Andrew Brunette would talk to him after every game. And he's like, it wasn't necessarily a long time, but he would sit and he would say, hey, he would tell me specifically, like, here's what we liked, here's what we didn't like, here's where you didn't do what we needed you to do, here's where you did what we want to see more of. And I don't think that it's because Andrew Brunette favors Evangelista that he maybe talked to him more, although, look, not in the locker room for those conversations after games. But I think Evangelista so wanted that feedback because he wanted to get better. And one of the things that Luke shared over the second half of the season and talking with him is that the improvement that he felt like he made was in things like puck battles. He didn't wait for the puck to come to him. Like, he went after it. And for Evangelista, which I find funny because, y'all, he is as delightful as you think he is. Like, he really is just this happy, delightful, gosh, I love hockey kind of person. But it awakened that competitive part of him, those puck battles. All of a sudden, his game and that competitive nature in him became about winning puck battles as much as it was about scoring goals. And I think that may be the difference for Andrew Brunette, and that could be a clue as to what it is they want to see from players like Phil Tomasino.
It's an emphasis on doing the little things of the game, right? Not just scoring, not just, skating or puck possession or anything like that. Yeah, as you mentioned, it's the puck battles. It's not just even the puck battles. It's, just being in the right place defensively, knowing your assignments, being able to kind of keep up mentally. We talked about this yesterday, mentally with the speed of the game, not just, physically with the speed of the game. Like, because, Tomasino's a good skater and certainly has a lot of speed, but being able to sort of mentally keep pace, know where the puck is going, know if, your teammate is going somewhere on the ice to challenge a player at the puck, know that you have to go somewhere else to kind of fill his position or make sure, somebody else is covered. Those are things that I can tell Andrew Brunette and Barry Trotz really, really emphasize. And so, I mean, Evangelista, you saw that as the season went on. There's so many games down the stretch of that regular season that you and I talked about. And it's like, Evangelista's been the best player on the ice, not just because he's speeding or challenging, but he's being aggressive at forechecking. He's winning battles along the board. He's forcing turnovers. So I think more of that. And I think, going back to somebody like Tomasino or even somebody like Cody Glass, they master those things. And all of a sudden, you're back in the lineup and you're earning more chances.
Right. I think you see a more complete game at the end of this season from Luke Evangelista by far than you did at the beginning. And I agree with you. That's the kind of growth Andrew Brunette needs to see. My question for you. So he played 80 games, 16 goals, 39 points this season. Is Evangelista, could he possibly be, your 25, 30 goal scorer?
The way he kept moving up as the season went on, I think so. I'm not going to say he's going to be like Philip Forsberg and scoring 45 to 50 goals of the season. I'm not even sure if he's going to be like a 90 or 100 point guy, but he keeps growing. I think he's really good. Somebody that can play at the top of the lineup, maybe middle six, and be a good, I could see him easily getting 60, maybe 70 goals on a good year and just be that really good, solid depth scorer that Nashville Predators need.
I think it's going to be, he is one of the players I think it's going to be most interesting to see what happens in the offseason when he hits training camp. Where's his growth at that point? There's a lot of potential here. Let's see what happens with it in the offseason.
Yeah, absolutely. Still to come on this Locked On Predators podcast, it is takes from a hat. some good takes or jumping off points on topics to end the season with, plus a special announcement about the future of Locked On Predators moving forward. Still coming up.
First, want to let you know this episode's brought to you by our great friends at Indeed. Like we said earlier, there is no I in team, but there is one in Indeed, and that's the hiring platform you need to build yours. When you're hiring, you need Indeed. Instead of spending hours on multiple job sites searching for candidates with the right skills, Indeed's a powerful hiring platform that can help you do it all. They've streamlined hiring with powerful tools that find you matched candidates. With Instant Match, over 80% of employers get quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor a job. According to US Indeed data, candidates you invite to apply are 3 times more likely to apply to your job than candidates who only see it in the search, according to US Indeed data as well. Even better, Indeed is the only job site where you only pay for applications that meet your must-have requirements. So join more than 3 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/lockedon. Offer good for a limited time. Claim your $75 credit now at Indeed.com/lockedon. Again, that's Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
All right, Ann, let's go to our staple segment. It's Takes from a Hat.
Let's go.
You guys know how this works, or if you've ever watched Whose Line Is It Anyway, you know how it works because we stole this idea from them.
Totally.
We have topics on the Nashville Predators and the NHL in this hat. We will draw one at a time and discuss from there. Ann, would you like to lead us off?
I would love to. All right, let's see what we have. Oh, here we go. Something we could have touched on a little bit. Who will be the standout player next season and why?
Standout as in like a younger player, or standout as in just like the best player on the team?
Yeah, well, not even best player, but who's going to have a standout year? Like, it can be like giant improvement. It can be best player on the team. It can be award nominee. Who's going to have the, kind of that standout year?
Gotcha. I am going to go Spencer Stastny here.
Come on now.
Spencer Stastny, excuse me. Spencer Stastny is a player that the Predators are very high on. That has been clear for halfway through the season because there were reports as early as January that Barry Trotz was trying to do whatever he could to find a way to get Spencer Stastny into the NHL full time. And next year, Alexander Carrier's contract is up. There's maybe some speculation they could try and move Dante Fabro. It seems like the Predators are gearing up to have Stastny on this roster full time. And I think 82 games of him are just going to show the world how good he is. We've had Eric Dene from Penalty Rocks Radio on the show several times, and he's flat out said, I think Spencer Stastny might be the best skater in the entire Preds organization. His skill level, of the thing that I'm impressed with, because he came in as kind of an older rookie, is just his ability to sort of read plays very fast. You see him make a lot of veteran positioning moves, a lot of veteran defensive plays as a 24-year-old. So I think he's going to come into this lineup next year full time. And I think he's easily going to be, maybe second pair, third pair, and he's going to be a solid defensive force. He's not going to put up like Roman Josi offensive numbers or anything like that. But defensively, I think people are really going to learn just how solid this guy is.
I love that pick. And I am very big on Spencer Stastny too. The thing that I love about him is this is a player who is relatively new to the NHL. And this young man is as cool under pressure as they come. So unflappable in high pressure situations. I was heartsick and still a little bit pissy that he got injured in in the postseason. But just FYI for people who may want to catch some more Spencer Stastny, he's been reassigned to Milwaukee. I am expecting that he may be in the lineup tonight for Milwaukee. They are playing. It's a win or go home game tonight again against the Texas Stars for Milwaukee. So you can catch a little bit more Spencer Stastny. But I agree with you.
Yeah.
There is nothing I've seen from him that doesn't wow me. Love this kid.
Yeah.
Love him.
For sure. Let's see.
Make it an easy one.
Oh, here's another one. Speaking of youth,
Okay.
who do you think has the highest upside with the Nashville Predators? Cody Glass, Evangelista, or Phil Tomasino?
Oh my goodness. Look at you just going right for it. These are three players I will say off the top that I think each have upside. I'm going to go with Luke Evangelista because I feel like we have proof. Like we have seen growth. We didn't get that opportunity with Cody Glass, and I know a lot of people are out on Cody Glass. I want to be on the record saying I am not out on Cody Glass. Y'all just wait. But I do think what we've seen from Luke Evangelista, we talked about that kind of, trajectory where he's trending in the right direction. I think that's going to continue. And I'm not sure, I don't know what his ceiling is. His ceiling could surprise us. So for me, it's Luke Evangelista. I will also say Phil Tomasino has a lot of talent. It's just, can they figure out a way to communicate what they want from him? And can they get it out of him? So for me, it's Luke Evangelista.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer. I agree with Evangelista just because I feel like he's been able to figure it out a little bit faster.
Yes.
And I think him and Tomasino are very similar in their ceilings. And I think so this is going to cause Evangelista to maybe reach that ceiling a little bit earlier. Still in on Tomasino. I still think he's got something left in the tank if he can just figure out some of his other, shortcomings on the ice. I still want to believe there's a path for Cody Glass to be a really good player, but it's going to take a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. But don't count him out. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, not going to count him out.
Some people have, and I remember, and I will have receipts.
There we go. Matt Duchene 2.0.
That's right. Oh, I'm on it. All right, here's one. Oh, if you could have one Predator player back that has been traded or moved since we started covering the team, who would it be and why?
Oh, this is a tough one. It's between two.
Okay. This is such an easy question for me, but go ahead. What are you?
You're going to say Matthias Ekholm.
100%
That's one of the two.
Yeah.
Oh, and I might say Matt Duchene.
Really?
You look at what he's done in Dallas this season. And look, I know that a lot of people are like, oh, he's not living up to his contract, this and that. The Predators needed some scoring against Vancouver. Just imagine if Matt Duchene, especially Matt Duchene, who was the best player in the postseason for the Predators 2 years in a row. Imagine if Matt Duchene was there. Imagine how good this team would be if we still had that top line, but then maybe Matt Duchene on the second with somebody like Tommy Novak. Because as he's proved in Dallas this year, you don't necessarily need to put a 100-point scorer next to Matt Duchene. He's carried that depth line for Dallas on his own. And he's helped people like Tyler Seguin come back and have a big year. So I'm going to go Matt Duchene just for the scoring upside.
Interesting. Here is my question for you, and I ponder this way more than I should. Is Matt Duchene's success with the Dallas Stars about Matt Duchene, or is it about who is around Matt Duchene on the Dallas Stars?
I think both.
Yeah.
Because I think at some point Matt Duchene is coming in with a chip on his shoulder. But on the other hand, Dallas has a little bit more high-end skill, more depth to work with. And I think just a team that's closer to compete than Nashville.
Yeah. That's true.
Going with a little bit of both there.
Okay.
All right, let's see here, Ann. All right. Okay, here's the take. All right, so I'm going to change this because we just talked about Spencer Stastny.
Okay.
Other than Spencer Stastny, who do you think is the next Milwaukee Admiral to come in and have a big impact with the Nashville Predators next season? Somebody who hasn't really been called up before.
Ooh, that's a great question. I do think, well, I mean, I'm going to say Yaroslav Askarov. I feel like that's, depending on what happens with goaltending, I think probably he is the next one that they're seriously considering making a part of the Nashville Predators team. If we set aside the whole ball of wax that is goaltending decisions, I'm going with Joachim Kamel. I know he was injured for part of the season, so he doesn't necessarily have the stats. But this is a player who I think offensively kind of has extra punch.
Yeah.
So I would maybe say him. Yaroslav Askarov, I think, is, the logical one. But if I'm going like out on a limb, I'm going to go with him.
Am I off in saying I think it's Zachary Leroux?
Oh, now that would delay.
Because here's the thing. I think he still has a lot of growing to do.
He does.
And I still think he's got a lot more upside and a lot more things he needs to work on. Mm-hmm. But he's a guy whose like immediate skill set would translate to a role at the NHL level.
Yes.
Maybe sooner than Joachim Kamel.
I have to say, I might not disagree with you on that. And I definitely some growing to do, but I do think the big picture, the meat that Andrew Brunette looks for, I think that's just a natural part of Zachary Leroux's game. Interesting.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, Anne, let us end with a quick announcement about the future of Locked On Predators, shall we?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm going to do it anyway. So, quick headline here is that today is my last episode of Locked On Predators. I have been doing Preds work, whether writing or podcasting, for 6 seasons now.
Yes.
But as I've really pointed out, or like, kind of come to the realization that, after I've been thinking about this for a while, I've been doing something sports related since like senior year of high school, when I was like the guy that called games for Centennial High. I did sports. I worked for WKU football for 2 years. I transitioned to sports reporting. I did that professionally. I was doing some blogging here and there. And then in 2019, started On the Forecheck, and I've been doing that ever since. And you and I joined On the Forecheck at the same time.
Yeah.
Listen to some of the people who were on the roster when you and I joined. We had Tony Botetto.
Oh.
We had Zach Ronaldo.
Oh, my goodness.
Wayne Simmons, Freddie Gaudreau, Brian Boyle, Matt Irwin, Mika Salamaki, and your favorite, Rem Pitlick.
Oh, stop it.
And PK Subban. I'll just throw that out there. So It's certainly been a while since we've been doing this. And, quite frankly, just kind of ready to take a step back and enjoy being a sports fan. Maybe not necessarily having to always report or tweet or write about it or break down the X's and O's. Maybe just staying up and enjoying the game and being able to cheer without wondering, this fourth liner sure doesn't fit in with this long-term scheme. I'm looking forward to it. I will say, Anne, that I will certainly miss working with you every single day. You've not only been a great colleague, a great partner in crime for, even before this, but you've been a tremendous friend through it all. You've stepped in and carried the slack as I've been going through, some off ice stuff, whatever the broadcasting equivalent of ice is. And, it's also awesome because, you and I joined On the Forecheck at the, same time. And you were just like a mom who liked writing and liked sports and liked writing about sports. And look at you now. You're covering the Nashville Predators every day. You're in the locker room. You're in the press box. You're doing all this awesome stuff with Galvanize, and you're on Penalty Box Radio now. I think we can announce it. I don't think I gave anything away, but you're doing a radio show. You're getting all this national recognition, and it's so awesome to have worked with you and kind of seen your growth as a professional in this business. And I know that you're going to absolutely knock it out of the park, taking it forward. Are we allowed to say who my replacement is going to be?
I don't see why not.
Okay, sorry if we blew her cover, but Emma Lingen, former NHL.com Nashville Predators reporter, is going to be taking over my role. Both of us, are big fans of her work. Both of us very much vouched for her coming for, our boss, Sean, to kind of be the one that reached out and recruit her. And I have nothing but awesome things to think about the future of this podcast. And it's funny because, and you and I started this, we didn't have a YouTube page. We had, I think online, maybe 75 subscribers. And now we have over 1,000 YouTube subscribers. We have, over 1,000, podcast subscribers on different platforms. And it's just, it's awesome to have looked back and see the growth that you and I put into this. And I love it. And I'll miss it, but at the same time, ready to chillax a little bit and just watch some games as a fan.
Yeah. And I know life is full of chapters, and personally, I am thrilled for you, and I know there's just great things ahead for you professionally. This so blows. It does. I will say, I have loved talking Nashville Predators hockey with you. I've learned so much. I have learned so much from working with you, and it has been a joy. I have loved the off-camera conversations, have been amazing. Probably not locked on friendly all the time.
Thank God that we lost our. We had a blooper reel going for a while.
We did have a blooper reel going for a while. We wanted to share, but we lost it. But it's just been a delight, and I've learned so much. And I am truly thrilled for you. I'm a loafer. I am really sad that I'm not going to get to do this every day with you.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate that. I'm still going to listen. Yeah. You can't get rid of me that easily. If you ever want to do a Friday takes from a hat, let me know.
Come on.
I'll come back for a guest spot here and there.
I love it.
To all of you guys that have listened as well, thanks for all your support over these last 3 years with Locked On Predators and last 6 years of Preds writing. I've met a lot of really cool people that I'm, happy to keep interacting with. A lot of good support, for everybody who subscribed. Thank you so much. It means a lot. And we'll see you on the other side sometime. And for the last time, where can people find your work?
You can find my work online at Penalty Box Radio.
Yeah. Yep. Follow Ann Kimmel, everybody. One of the best in Nashville. That's going to do it for us on today's Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. Ann and Emma will be back on Monday with an all-new episode. We'll see you there.